we improvise the whole time. And we're live as we improvise. Ro is having technical difficulties. He will be here later. So if you want to make fun of Ro, feel free to do it now. Feel free to do it once he gets back. We don't mind. We're equal opportunity that way. Um, and we already have a fan from Canada in the chat. Welcome, Melissa. She is from Saskatchewan. Maybe Saskatchewan. I don't know. Saskatchewan. I know.
Saskatchewan. The Saskatoon is in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I figured. So there we are. Melissa's in the house. Nice.
If we're gonna make fun of Ro, we should make fun of the fact that he's just got that white wall as his background. Because you and I, we got it set up, right? We got it going on here.
I'm a bit of a maximalist. Oh, there we go. Saskatoon is 2 hours away, so just a short jaunt.
Yeah.
If anybody in Europe was watching, they'd be horrified at that statement, but you know.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I'm like, it's a short jaunt in Canada.
Yeah. So where are you calling in from, Joel?
I live in Toronto, Ontario. I live kind of right in the middle of the downtown-ish area. So not downtown, but downtown-ish. So if you live in the burbs, I'm downtown, and if you live downtown, I'm way out in the burbs. So
everyone, if you're going to Toronto, just tell Joel, he'll let you stay at his place. Sure, I'll volunteer that.
I've got this room right here. It can be, the other side of it here. There's space for a mattress.
And we got an English transplant in the audience. Now in the great state of Texas. Because as they say, you can always tell a Texan, you just can't tell them much. So you were in Toronto. You just told me a story. You have to tell it again now because it was entertaining and I have a short memory. So we were talking about Worldcon and how next year it's going to be in Montreal.
Yeah.
In the great frozen north. But it'll be in August, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about how your dad went to Toronto once, and this is the craziest story I've ever heard. Didn't even know it was allowed.
Yeah, I went to Montreal. He's so the world. We were talking about Worldcon in LA this year, and then we're talking about how it's in Montreal. And Mike was asking me if I was going to go, and I was saying I'm planning it, and I'm trying to push it past my wife, and I've got a foothold, so I think it's going to work. And I've got a friend in the city who's kind of like a fantasy author who kind of rolls to events. I invite him to things, and he likes to travel for things. He was in Calgary this past weekend at Worlds Collide, and so he and I are very much keen to go, and it was reminding me of something my father did in 1998, going back in time, where my father was kind of a high-level athlete. He was a swimmer, kind of sailor, paddler type of fellow, and he was a teacher. And while teaching, he taught because he had access to the pool. That was his philosophy, was I could swim in the morning and I could swim at night before I go home, and that was what he did, basically twice a day. And so somewhere around when you hit 40 years old, you enter what's called the Masters category, which is like if you're 40 or older, they have an entire world contests for people who are 40 plus. And so my dad was about 44, but he was a math teacher. And so the three guys that he got to race with him, they decided to go. They decided to go to Montreal, and he's friends with these other swimmers from Toronto who also, most of them were teachers. And funny enough, they decided to go, and they could enter the relay race because your average age had to be under 40. And my dad was like 44, but the other three guys they got were like 37, 38, and 37. And so it averaged out to be just under 40. And so they were allowed to go in it. And then they got bronze. And so he had a bronze. He came back home with a bronze medal from the World Championships from like a team he put together with his teaching friends. They're all high-level swimmers, right? It's not like the Sandlot here or something, right? Where it's like the Mighty Ducks, where they just pull some kids off of like a roller rink to play hockey, right? They're all high-level swimmers and whatnot. My dad has held Canadian records, but it was cool, right? He came home with a medal, and it was kind of like a one-off trip to Montreal. So when Worldcon is in Montreal next year, that's my goal. I got to come back with a bronze medal.
Okay.
Well, we can make one up for something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
Someone, if people see my story here, then I'm sure that they will. Someone will show up with a bronze medal made of bottle caps and a bit of rope or something like that.
Joel Minty, third place in buying rounds at the bar, something like that.
Third place at talking to strangers. All sorts of things.
Well, with all the introverts there, that won't be hard.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a fairly social fellow. I'm an elementary school teacher, and you kind of gotta be live every day when you're an elementary teacher, right? You got to be awake and you got to be out there engaging with the kids.
So, what age kids are you dealing with?
I teach grade 6, right at the cusp. It's the perfect age because the kids really know how to do school by then. Like grade 5, they kind of are like at the top of their I do school. And grade 6, they can do that, but that you can also expand their minds. You can really blow up their minds because you can introduce them to all sorts of great literature, which is one of the chief things that I do. And they're ready for stuff that's a little morally gray instead of things that are just black and white, right? So it's like grade 5 and down, you read like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then in grade 6, I read like Animal Farm. And it's a very distinct difference. And then by grade 7, they're all hormones. And it gets way harder to teach them, and they're really like focused on themselves, and it's kind of hard to hang around because you can see through them, but they can't see through each other.
So being around 12-year-olds all day, this next hour should be pretty comfortable for you.
Yeah, I'm fitting in so far. It's great. I just have to, if you guys need bathroom breaks, just put up 2 fingers like this. I'll let you go.
I just had mine. I'm good.
So, Joe, I just want to tell you, my mom was a teacher for 37 and a half years, and she taught 6th grade, and she's like, I wouldn't do anything else, because anything younger, and they're whiny, and anything older, it's all hormones. She's like, 6th grade.
6th grade, yeah.
That's the sweet spot, huh?
I'm a firm believer that I switched to doing a split for a bit of 6, 7, and in my kind of conversation about switching, I was like, now I want to hold down 6, so at any point, if I want back, they don't have to let me back, but you got to let me back. That was kind of the angle. Yeah, it's great, and it's a really good day job. I love going into work. So,
well, that's a perfect job to have if you actually like going into it. I'm like, do you like going into work?
I like leaving work.
I like it when the elevator goes down at the end of the day. That's about it.
The elevator going up and versus going down. Yeah, for sure. Funny enough, when I started to become, my dad was a teacher, as I already said, so it was a bit in my blood. But when I was making the decision, it was a friend of mine being like, "But you could get your writing done in the summers, right?" That was one of the things he was trying to, kind of convince me to do it. He was kind of explaining, "Hey, you should become a teacher," and part of it was based around being able to juggle, what your interests with your professional life at the same time.
So how much of that summers off thing is a myth and how much is actually summers off?
Well, one of the weird things is I see teachers who post stuff like, oh no, it's in Canada, right? It goes like July through August, right? Whereas in the States, as far as I can tell, it's kind of like early June to mid-August, right? So so kids in Toronto, everyone's still off for like 2-3 more weeks. It's a longer summer. And when I see teachers kind of post like, oh, August has come, it's been too short, it kind of drives me nuts because I recognize that it's a privileged position to have, right? That most other people, my wife works, long hours during the summer while I am off. And so there's that side of it. You never want to take it for granted because it breaks up your mentally, which I think is really important. But it is also, I think, very important to have because the kids need it, even if they forget half the stuff over the summer. They just need the break, and teaching in the heat is like, ugh, like it's hard, it's painful. Not that Toronto gets too hot, but you know, and it's the other side of it though is you end up picking up all of the jobs, right? So I do a lot of work around the house. I do a lot of work picking up and dropping off my kids. I do all the medical appointments. My son has a bunch of medical appointments, and I look after my people's social lives. And there's always any big job that we have to do. Well, the summer's the time to do it. You're not gonna do it in March when you could wait 3 months and have time, right? So, helping contractors, or like I installed some lights the other day. And so it's not that those things take up all your time necessarily, but they're always there, right? There's always this understanding that you are free, therefore you are, you are undercharged. Yeah, you may go.
Yeah. He didn't even ask for a pass. What the hell's up with that?
You know what? I got a rule in my room where it's like, I tell them on the first day, I'll be doing this in 3 weeks. I'm saying, I don't want you to interrupt me when I'm talking. I don't want you to say, can I go to the bathroom? I'm not going to stop you. I just want, I'll tell you to wait if there's like another kid out there or something. So I have them put up 2 fingers and I just point at them, or I nod with my eyes, and the flow for the rest of the class kind of can continue. It's
right. Yeah.
It's a bit of a strategy that I use, and the French teacher adopts as well. So
I have a friend who is an elementary school teacher, and this will be the last teaching question we ask you. We promise we'll get to your book.
It turns out I'm in an interview for getting a new teaching job. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine, and she said that the kids aren't the issue, the parents are the issue. Is that the same up there as it is down here?
Well, on that, one thing that is different about me is I'm. When you say teacher, people assume it's kind of the public system, but I actually teach at a private school.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was the closest school to me when I was out of work years ago, and so I volunteered there, and I've never really wanted to leave. So it is a different kind of group of parents, different issues if there are issues with parents. For the most part, I love almost all the parents I come in contact with. So I don't have too many problems, but the truth is, school's a really good school with great kids and great families. So one of the reasons I want to stay is because they make my day happy, because they're just pretty good all around. It is one of the weird things about teaching is you have basically 3 bosses. You have your actual boss, right? The person who's cutting your checks, or the principal of the school who's making decisions on whether you're good or bad at your job, kind of thing. You have the kids who are kind of your boss because they dictate how your day goes. If they want to ruin your day, they can. It's entirely within their power to utterly destroy your day, right? So, and then the other side of it would be the parents of those kids, who often can talk to the school, especially at a private school. They're paying money for their kid to be there. They have a fair that they have a say, right? That they have some sort of, that their opinion is heard. And so I find all of them are perfectly fine at my school. I like the parents, but I also find that having all 3, you've got to make sure that you're kind of keeping all the balls in the air when you're juggling, because otherwise it can be a problem. And once again, going back to my dad, who was a teacher, when he got hired back in like the 60s, he was leaving the room, and the guy who hired him stopped and said, "Now, Len." And my dad turned around and he looked at him right in the eye, and he said, "Make the children love you." And he said that was just the best advice he ever got, that if the kids love being in your class, 1, they work hard for you. They'll do better work. They'll try their best. 2, their parents are happy because the kid comes home and he wants to come back to school, right? And if that's happening, then your bosses are happy. And it becomes kind of easy. So I think, honestly, the key for it is having the energy to both entertain and inform at the same time, right? So it's like it becomes hard if you are kind of dull, if you're not there with the kids, if you don't have that kind of childish playfulness, then they tune out. You start having problems, right? What I find is I engage a lot with the kids, and they want to be there, and that's what makes my life. It makes it easier for me, right? It's just you just got to put in that initial effort. September, you got to whip them into shape and say, "Hey, look, you guys do things right. You follow my rules. I will entertain you. You don't need your own clowny antics. You do save that for the yard. I will make it worth your while. We're going to have fun, and it's going to, teach you interesting stuff."
Well, all right. With that as a background, then, for who you are,
yeah,
I was reading through a little bit of your webpage, and what happened to we had a banner ticker here. So if you haven't already, folks, go check out Joel's webpage and learn a little bit about his book. How long have you been working on this book?
It's been a long time. It's funny enough. I just made a post. My book comes out in 1 week.
The 25th of August, right?
25th of August, next Tuesday.
And this is your first book.
This is my first book. But I just wrote a big post for my website and to everyone I know, just about what the journey is, because I think it's got to be a completely unique journey as far as authors go. I'll tell you about it. Before that, I will like to add one caveat. My
Sure.
kids are both upstairs, and my son, he's part of the story. He has autism, and it's relatively severe. So if a little boy comes hurtling into the room and I have to disappear for a moment, you'll understand why. My daughter is on patrol to try to keep him upstairs. They're playing a new video game, so they should be pretty happy. But
that is the best pre-excuse for I may leave this show and never come back that we've ever heard.
Yeah, and here he is. He literally just showed up.
Hey.
How did I know that?
I think myself.
All right. So hold on. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm up with Abby.
And he wasted no time using that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe I heard him. Maybe I heard him come.
That's right. It's all like that extra sensory.
Yeah.
So your first novel, August 25th, and it is called Purge of Ashes.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy you can show us?
Yeah. I have an author's copy.
That'll do.
Nice.
Right, and so it's got that strip across it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's there's my name at the bottom there, and I only have there's only about 3 or 4 physical copies in existence right now. The ebook is available for pre-order, and then the paperback is coming out on the 25th exactly. And so I've got one set up in the background here. That's my other one. That's my first one, and then I've given away a couple to a couple author friends of mine. Hold that concept until the end of the show. You might change your mind.
How thick is that book, Joel? Give me a side on that. Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty chunky.
It is pretty chunky. It's about 600 pages. It is one of those things. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go self-published.
Yeah.
Was just because after a while, years ago, I'll go back to the start of the story, but years ago, it was very much a thing where it became very clear that a no-name author with a book this large was going to have a lot of trouble, right? That there was going to have a lot of trouble kind of getting it through the gates. But I find it interesting, right? Because some people would say, "Oh, it has to be slow because it's big." But it's never like that. I've never gotten a comment ever that's said anything bad about the pacing. It depends how many stories you tell, I think, right? Story has an arc, right? I teach it in grade 6, right? There's that arc to the story, and if your beginning is too long, you're going to lose people, and your climax can't go on and on and on forever, right? It has to kind of punch. But if you're telling lots of different stories kind of at once, then there is room for an expanded size without diluting the arc of the story. And I think that's really important because I love when I was younger, when I decided to start writing this, it actually started around 2003. I made a character list around 2003, and a couple years after I started writing a version of it that got completely scrapped. I had like weird points of view from the bad guys and a bunch of different things. And then what happened was I went to a TV writing producing program here in Toronto at a college. And I wanted to make cartoons. I wanted to make funny cartoons like the Futurama, the Bender head and there we go, background there, my shirt. I'm wearing the Bender Futurama shirt here. And I wanted to make a cartoon like The Simpsons or Futurama. And I was trying to make a show about hell. It was called The Cajoles of Hell. And then it was called Hellbent. And then it never got anywhere. But that was what I spent all my time on. I thought that'd be really fun. And when it came out of the program, the challenge was TV is very much a by committee kind of thing. You need a lot of different people to produce. And what I realized was being an author isn't really like that. it's much more solitary. It's you and your dedication is what matters. And so during the program, though, we had a teacher who did movie scripts, and nobody was there writing movie scripts. And so this guy said, his name was Lauren Froman. He was an Emmy nominated kind of Hollywood writer guy who'd retired up to here to Toronto, and he basically said everyone's got to write me a movie over the holiday break. So I went back to that old fantasy idea that I had, where I had these maps drawn out and I had all these characters and I had all this kind of lore. And I said, okay, well, what if I did this as a movie script? I've got to do it for an assignment, and everything else I want to do is a funny cartoon. So I wrote it as a script. He really liked it. He sent it to Los Angeles, and the only value in that, because it was never going anywhere, of course, I'm nobody and it's a fantasy movie. But I did get to mention it the night that I met my wife. So that helped kind of, kind of hook us up on the night that I met my wife, just casually being like, oh yeah, I got a script in LA. It happens to be there currently. I'm sure it's kitty litter lining right now.
She's been waiting ever since.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. TikTok, right? So anyway, so then I was like, okay, I wrote this movie script. I really liked it. Like, I kind of did the ending, right? Like, I was like, oh, I didn't really know where it was going before, but now I know. Now I did this ending, and it was all very like thin. Everything was visual, right? I could picture it, but you can't pour out tons of description. You can't pour out huge dialogue. It's a movie. It has to roll, right? So then when that was done, and I said, I want to do something more by myself, I said, well, what if I took my movie script and I undid it, right? And I went backwards to writing the novel again from where it started. Only now it's going to be focused and precise, right? And it's gonna be more kind of cinematic, perhaps, and kind of to the point. And so that's what I did. I gave myself 6 years to write the book, which is a lot of time, way more than a normal author needs. But I was kind of doing it on weekends and in bits and pieces, and it wasn't professional when I was 27, and the key with it, I knew when I was really young, I wrote a story that was the sequel to Warcraft 2, the video game from the 90s. I loved Warcraft, and so I wrote Warcraft 3. Of course, they went and made that video game later, but I tried to write my own story of it. And I took their characters and my own characters, and in like grade 9 and 10, I came home from school and I would write 2 pages a day, and it ended up at about 111,000 words. It was like a full book of like what I consider Warcraft 3. I went and looked at it like even 5 years later. It was unreadable. And I don't mean because it was bad quality. I still liked the storylines that went on, but I didn't understand grammar or paragraphing or anything, apparently, because it was like this ugly brick that was impossible to physically read. It was also written on a Mac, so a Mac Classic from the 90s. So its days were numbered. But the one thing that I took from it was you can do it. You can finish it. If you just sit there. There were days I did not want to write 2 pages. I wanted to go play basketball. I wanted to play video games, and I sat and did it. And I've used that ever since. And this was the same thing. Maybe 6 years is way too long, but it's going to be enough time that I should be able to do it if I keep a steady pace, and if I never get down on myself that I'm not hitting my targets, that I'm going too slow, that I'm not, professional enough or good enough. So I found it was really good, because then when I finished, I was just proud that I was done, the copy of the book. So at this point, I would say it's about 13, 14 years since I actually wrote down, these people's names, in my like character list and drew the map, which I have online in various places. It's like a hand-drawn version of the real map that has barely changed. And once I had it done, I pitched, I queried, all that jazz. I wasn't getting anywhere. And then part of the story was I got a 3-book publishing deal from a publisher called Realm Walker Publishing Group, aka RPG. And they were a small press. And at the time they were making news because they were pitching themselves a lot, and they were attracting authors. And what happened for me was I said, okay, I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to read this one guy who'd gotten hired by them named Sean Rodden. I was like, I'll read his book. and I really loved his book. I have it over here in my bookshelf. It's called Whispers of War. It's the most Tolkien-esque book I've ever read in a good way, where it doesn't feel derivative. It feels like he took it and put it on steroids. And I was really impressed by the quality of the writing and all that. And I said, all right, yeah, if you could pass along my book to your superiors. And then he did, and I got a 3-book deal, and I was super excited. And this was 2015, December 2015. And going into 2016, they'd hired like 16 authors, which seemed like a lot. The general mantra was, if you're a small press, you hire 2 or 3 authors and you promote the hell out of them, right? Like you better hope one of them really catches, and then is the flagship kind of for your company, because a lot of smaller ones is going to be hard to make ground against, traditional publishing and whatnot. So anyway, over the months, they were releasing a book a week, and I was being released in April. I was the last one to come out, supposed to come out in April. And I started reading some of the other authors who'd been hired, because we were part of a team now, right? We're part of a crew. We're all yelling and excited for each other. And I did not find those books were professional grade. And if you look at my Goodreads, I like almost everything I read quite a bit. I am not a harsh critic. I tend to think that, almost all the trad pub and almost all of the self-pub novels I've read, I like them a lot. I think they're great in different.
I got a few books for you to review then.
Yeah. Right?
I'll hook you up.
We'll see if we can sync you. But what ends up happening with it then was, I didn't think these were that great. And right around then, a bunch of other stuff started happening with the company. And the long and short of it is, they went bankrupt the week of my debut. So I had 3 or 4 months where I was on cloud 9. I got this deal. I had a party booked in Toronto at an art gallery that a friend of mine owned with my wife, had made a bunch of food. And like, the books didn't arrive from America in time because I ordered them too late. And then by that point, the company was like, as much as it was kind of crummy, they weren't like a con. They tried to do something that they didn't have the wherewithal to accomplish, and all of the authors suffered for it. So I know a person this morning posted being like, hey, I was there. I was back there in 2016. I remember that fiasco. It's amazing that now, 10 years later, here you are publishing the book, like staying true to it and not giving up. And that's basically exactly what happened. I scraped all of that thing. I self-published immediately, but I didn't have a professional cover because the cover artist had quit a month earlier because she wasn't being paid, because of the small press wasn't telling us that she wasn't being paid. And the interior map, you couldn't read it. And there was pages that were just blank because they promised to make some maps that they'd never done. And like the I have it actually here. I have the old one over here. It's similar size, not quite. It seems it's thinner though, right? See how it's a little thinner? Mm-hmm. The reason is because they made the writing go right to the bottom of the page and right to the top of the page to try to save me money, because they knew that it cost money to print a paperback. So they didn't want, with a big book, they're trying to make the paperback smaller to save me money. But it doesn't look professional in any regard. And that is way worse, right?
Yeah.
So, and the cover is, the background is pretty cool and everything else is abysmal. So,
it's really dark.
Pardon?
It's really dark.
It's exceptionally dark.
It's kind of muddy.
Yeah, and like the sky in the background, it looks great, and the symbol is poor. It's clearly like a kind of a piece of clip art that somebody has just added to the cover, and the metal skulls make no sense. And anyway, it was problems.
Yeah. So I've noticed that Purge of Ashes is book 1 of the Imbalance.
Yeah.
So what is your timeline for book 2?
Well, I've got good news with that. So, good point, right? Okay, so that was 2016. I published the book. I took it down after a few months because I finally kind of came down off my cloud that this was not happening and that the actual publication was blocking the actual writing. I had some fine reviews, but and then I sat on it, and I'd already started working on book 2 back then, so I just kept working on book 2. So in the last 10 years, I've written the sequel. It's called Grip of Dust, and my goal was, I made a promise to myself, again, same kind of rule system, right? Say 6 years, you're going to write the book. This promise was, I will publish Purge of Ashes again. I will take it off the shelf, dust it off, bring it back like a phoenix when I finish book 2, and not before, because I know how long it's been taking me to write them. They're big and they're complex, and I often need to get back into the world whenever I sit down to write again. My favorite books when I was growing up were like Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones, right? Amazing Book of the Fallen is my all-time favorite, and many points of view, right? Many stories happening at once, and that was always what I lived in as a teen, and so that's what I wanted to do. So with a book like that, I always have to kind of reset. I have to read what I just did. When I come back to certain story arcs, I have to go back and reread the entire book to be like, what are all these nuances for their characters? What are their clothing? What condition are their clothes in? Basic little details like what was going to happen for the next book, right? So I know it takes a long time. So I didn't publish Purge of Ashes again until I knew that I could give people Grip of Dust within about maybe say a month or like a year and a half, right? Or whatever a typical time for a typical author is to get their second book out. In my case, I figure that's a little over a year, maybe next summer when I'm off and I'm able to help, get that cover done, and I can have the same cover and editor team, and they know that the sequel's coming and it's done, and it's I've got beta readers reading it right now.
Will this be a duology or a trilogy?
It's going to be 4 books. The third one I have about 20,000 words in right now. It's called Silence of Deluge, and it was always going to be a trilogy. But then what I found was book 2 had too much going on. I had to cut parts out of it, and also I was inspired by the end of the Wheel of Time when Sanderson finished book 14. And the whole book, the last battle, is basically, that's it, right? Memory of Light is basically just the last battle. It's just the big climax as a book, right? The whole book is just the climax. And so when I was dividing up the world, I felt, you know what? I could make a 4th book here, which is just the big climax of all kind of the storylines.
You said climax too much. Mike got excited and had to leave.
Yeah. Exactly. I said the word too often, right? So that's the general premise, right? So the final book is kind of two storylines, climaxes happening simultaneously.
So now the big question then. If you're set up at a convention or something with your book, what's your 30-second elevator pitch for Purge of Ashes?
I've always been thinking about that. I haven't been in a situation where I've had to do it.
Well, yeah, you are now. What's your book about?
It's a story about kind of, they're younger people, but it's not YA at all. It's borderline grimdark. I just qualify it as epic fantasy. And it's about kind of survival and kind of trying to stay virtuous and honorable and caring for other people in the face of extreme danger and challenge. So the story basically begins with an island nation where there's a group of mercenaries where a month ago, say over half a world away, there was supposed to be this very big war between the city and these kind of tribal warriors in the grassy plains. And they gathered people from all over in recruitment boats, and they made this large army, and then the battle ended up being over within a day or two. It was kind of like it came down to a single duel, and the one side just capitulated to the other, and there was this huge army with nothing to do. And so it broke into all these different mercenary factions. And so our story follows the Los Freelancers 3rd Division, and they're in the city called Catolius, and it's a port town in a pretty much an island nation that has kind of stayed peaceful because it's an island, and they have
you
no
mean
contact.
a peaceful island nation like England or Japan?
Yeah, it's kind of shaped like Australia, but it's shaped like Australia, but its environment is more like, I don't know, a swamp. Its environment is more like kind of like nice trees and cruddy swamp in combination. So,
Okay.
but the general gist is that these mercenaries are kind of hanging around, and we follow a young mercenary named Arenzo, who is desperate. He signed up for kind of adventure and excitement. He's a student of history, and he wants to be part of kind of the history books. And shortly, they take a contract to kind of protect the nobility of the city, because there's going to be a parlay between the city and this nation from across the water, and it's a nation of like Skaven, like rat people. The kind of they're called Ash Reavers. It's called the Scalian Legion, and the Scalian Legion is showing up, and nobody knows why. And so they have this nice kind of peaceful celebratory parade, and then things go south real quick. And the book is about the freelancers have signed on to protect this the city, the people of the city, and when everything goes to hell and there's a huge invasion, they have to protect the refugees across this road, which is literally called the longest road. That's just the name of the road, which is this long road to the capital at the center of the island. And one of the characters is the son of kind of the king. In my world, they're called scepters. He's the heir to the throne, and so between him and some of the nobility in the port city and the mercenaries, they have to kind of butt heads, make agreements, come to terms and grips with each other in trying to get these people from the one city to the mainland, to the capital, where there's like big walls, right? There's a big sturdy castle and there's defenses, and the young kind of prince guy swears that, you know, his father's going to know what to do. And that's kind of the story. It's about this invasion and their survival, but a lot of it is, there's a lot of action, you know, that kind of comes and goes. But then a lot of the chapters I like the most too are ones of just them on the road or off in the woods near the road because everything's gone badly. There's a lot of interactions kind of between all the different people who all have the same goal, but different kind of means and ways of trying to get there. And then once you have that as the overarching plot, there's one other little kind of caveat, which is it's called Imbalance because it's about the god pantheon as well. And there's basically 4 gods, your basic kind of plus scale of kind of good and evil, order and chaos. And they're here, they're on the back of the book. I put them on the binding. You can see the 4 god heads kind of coming out of the metalwork around the blurb there. And the idea there is there's a lot of kind of, you know, ancient history to it that the characters and therefore the reader doesn't really even know reading the first book, because the characters don't know. You haven't met people scholarly or old enough to kind of know some of these details. But the general gist is there is balance because the good god has more power than the evil god. But in the evil god's point of view, it is imbalanced because they used to be equal and now they're not. And so he feels a great injustice has occurred. And so he tries to tip the scales by siring a son who can actually touch the world and affect it. And in the world of imbalance, the power of the gods is derived by the faithful. So however many faithful that you have kind of praying to you. And so, you know, chaos and order, not that many people pray to either of them, but it's balanced. So it's kind of like order and chaos have kind of equal power. But there's a lot of people who pray to kind of the good god more than, like, you know, rat bastards praying to the evil god. And therefore, this young boy, the book starts, and in chapter 1, this boy comes of age, and the god has invested in him some powers to help him turn the tide by burning temples and killing faithful. And he ends up part of the refugees, but nobody knows kind of who he is or what he can do.
Is that your main character?
No, he's the villain.
Oh, the villain. So who's your hero character?
The main character is Arenzo, who's the mercenary. He's a mercenary. He's really keen to kind of get in on the action, and then quickly has to change his tune, and kind of how he navigates his superiors and kind of the young heiress of the city that he's in, who has just lost her family and all of her people, and he has to try to look after her and a few other people as well.
Okay. So you might want to trim that down a bit for your 30-second.
Well, I would figure the first part of it before I got into the details was the 30-second part.
Yeah.
That it's mostly about the nature of trying to stay kind of honorable and good in the face of survival. I don't have it's this plus this. Maybe I should, but it's something it's always left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
I've always hated that.
Yeah, right. Like it's like James Bond meets,
right.
J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah.
James Bond meets Bluey. I'm like, what the? Oh, okay, right. So
interesting mix.
And one of the things I feel like it's actually a good time to have a series that has kind of a big level of kind of epic to it. Because obviously there's a lot of epic fantasy still coming out, but there's a lot of focus, I think, on faster reads, on romantasy a bit, cozy things, but also things that are quick. I love Joe Abercrombie, and I love a few other authors I've read recently. I read way behind the times, but I read the Lives of Locke Lamora, and Abercrombie and Scott Lynch. Their sections are short, right, very fast. So you can pick it up and read a bit and put it down, right? It's not big, long chapters like Robert Jordan used to have, or George R. R. Martin or Erickson.
Yeah, that's important. I don't mind how many chapters a book has, but it's kind of annoying, excuse me, when you're like reading before bed or something like that, and you really want to end on a chapter, and you look ahead, it's like, I've got like 36 more pages to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of my chapters are pretty big, but they always have a lot of point of view shifts. So I have a little flurrion, which is a little balance scale that's tipped that separates all the points of view.
Okay. So you do POV shifts within a chapter?
Yeah, usually somewhere between kind of like 5 to 15.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So if it's a regular chapter, it'll be about 5, 6, 7 points of view. It could be the same person twice. It just moves through things, right? So sometimes
how many primary kind of POV characters are you working with on this?
Of the ones that I would consider kind of like more central POVs, there's probably about 5 or 6, and then there's about 4 or 5 more minor POVs, and then there's kind of random one-offs. Sometimes I'll have a page which is a guy fighting in the battle, and then he dies, and then it goes to someone else, and it's just kind of explaining some of that chaos of what's happening in the fights, for example. But so like, for example, there's a scene where they find a boy on the road from another nation, and he's kind of like half starved and passing out. And so the scene starts with them trying to resuscitate him and talk to him and ask him about information. And there are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 main characters around that fire, right? They're around that fire on the road that they're camping for the night, right? And they've put up their they've got their packs out and they're eating, and someone's cooking, and they're trying to wake this guy up and talk to him. There'll be 4 or 5 main characters in that exact scene. So when the point of view shifts from, one character to another, it's not jarring. It's just now you're in another character's head looking at the exact same thing continues, right? Like the same conversation, but we're going to follow it from this other person for various reasons, right? What their take is on.
Do you think some of that came from your experience writing it as a movie script first?
I mean, in a movie script, you'd want to pare down all those other characters, right? You'd want to get rid of them entirely. And to be honest, I haven't read the movie script in so long. I have no idea, like, if I even included, who I included or how much the B plot, kind of thing is in there. Like how much time I spent with the villain by comparison to the novel. I think actually more of it comes from a Malaysian Book of the Fallen and those classic epic fantasy series from the late 90s, because they just had so many characters and so many points of view I ate that up when I was younger. I thought this is giving me more meat. This is giving me more depth. It might not be as much of a roller coaster ride, but it has a great kind of power to it. And so that's the kind of the realm that I operate under. Even if I lately have come to love books that are just like fast to the point, and then you're done.
Let me ask you this then. Do you think it's necessary for an epic fantasy to have a POV for the villain?
No, certainly don't. In this case, the villain is with them, right? He's part of they don't really know who he is or what he is, and he doesn't quite kind of come into his own. He's a kid. He's like 15, 16 years old. But he is meant for kind of evil things, right? Like the voice of his father, who's basically the evil god, talks to him in his head and ushers him on to like burn churches and things like that. And so he is heading to the capital to try to destroy it. But he is part of the same. He has to survive the trip as well. And he has kind of this one ally who is someone who prays to the dark god, and they quickly figure it out that they're both kind of of that ilk early on. So I would say no, not necessarily. And I'm not quite sure now when I look at it, I don't know how I could do it without it, just for the way that it's written. Right. But I imagine that if I started from scratch, I could probably find a way to write the whole story. And there's kind of two villains, right? There's that boy, and then there's the invading army of kind of Skaven creatures. And so you could easily, end it kind of with just that army being the central kind of villain. But having two allows for to push further, right? And so one of them is a problem in book 2, and the other one isn't, kind of thing.
So this question has been on my mind for about 30 minutes now. It's going to be a little bit of a departure from what we've been talking about. But what the hell is hail ants?
Oh, oops. Sorry. Knocked my book over. Hail Ants is so I'm a big fan, like I said, of Futurama and The Simpsons. And Hail Ants is a sign that we made for the first time. Me and a few friends went to something called Simpsons Trivia here in Toronto. A friend of mine started something called Woohoo Simpsons Trivia. It's still going. Like this was years ago. Like it's 15 years old at least, and it's spread to like Chicago and Brooklyn and Vancouver and like a bunch of different places. But we went to the inaugural one that ever happened, and it's just trivia questions about The Simpsons. And there's a joke in one episode where the newscaster quickly turns on the human race to support what he believes is a bunch of ants floating in Homer's spaceship, where he thinks they're going to take over the. He thinks they're going to take over the world, and he quickly bails on humanity and sides with the ants until he realizes it was just an ant close up in the camera, and then he rips the sign "Hail Ants" down quickly. And so we made it for trivia, and I keep it in my room because I love it. So
it's a Simpsons deep cut then.
Yeah, it's a Simpsons deep cut, exactly.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I've never. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I have the most important question of the night.
Really, we're going to take a break. So as we're going to take a little bit of a break, I will give this to you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. So I will tell you about 90% of our guests get it wrong. They always agree with Ro, and that's just a terrible place to be. So I want you to consider you're going down the main drag in Toronto.
Okay.
You are in a saddle. Now this saddle can either be on a T-Rex or a Griffin. Which one do you choose and why? There's only one correct answer. And I don't want to in any way try to, influence you, but there are some wise people in the comments section.
If you're on, do I get to ask qualifying questions?
Sure.
If you're on the Griffin, do you have to stay low?
No.
But do you have to stay on the main drag? So like Yonge Street in Toronto.
No, you're flying over top of it.
Just a situation. That's all. You can do whatever you want and go wherever you want.
I feel like I'd go with the Griffin.
Oh, see, you're wrong. Terrible.
I as much as I love Calvin and Hobbes riding T-Rexes around and destroying things.
Yeah.
I don't want to destroy downtown Toronto just kind of cuz. Like I can't
Well,
picture the T-Rex even fitting. Young Street's pretty narrow.
If Mike were to ask the question, you are with Calvin and Hobbes on a saddle,
Then a
then
T-Rex. Then a T-Rex.
then it's T-Rex, right? Okay.
Then it's
If
T-Rex.
I'm with Calvin and Hobbes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's never been the question.
No.
That is the answer. Just imagine the annoying drivers in front of you. You can have the T-Rex pick the car up, throw it into the second-story window. You'll have the whole road to yourself. There'll be no traffic jams. You can ignore the traffic lights. It'd just be wonderful.
I like that. That background there, right?
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, that's like on a highway, right? Like, so that would be on like in Toronto, that'd be on like the 401 or the Don Valley Parkway. And so like, I would like that because you could step between the cars without destroying them, but just being awesome. Young Street was so narrow. I felt like he'd be smashing buildings and, scaring teenagers.
Okay, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yes. I like that premise. Also, you got to think back. I did say I was a big fan of Warcraft and Warcraft 2. And of course, Warcraft 2 had griffins, but not T-Rexes. So my throwback to the Warcraft love.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Mike.
I mean, you are in the 90%. Yeah. So you're disappointed, but it's not unusual. So that's okay.
Financially and with my brain.
So
and it's not helping that your fellow Canadian is agreeing with you.
Yeah. Nice.
You are... Good God. Sorry, folks. I'm just clicking buttons here. There we go. Your book comes out in 6 days on the 25th of August.
Yep.
Where is it, like a Amazon?
Yeah, it's on KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and so it's available by ebook and it's available in a paperback. And I think I'm kind of part of the reads, the page reads thing. I think for the first 3 months, so you can get it through that kind of library thing, and you get and you can you read however much that you like. It's very exciting for me. I'm actually it's been a long time coming, as you've heard, right? It's been a very long time, and there's many ways in which that can be construed as not very professional. But I've also really built up towards doing this, where my second one's basically going to be completely ready to go in a good amount of time, and I'm using the time after the first one, and then the second one, and then the time after the second one to get this third one done, which should be shorter. It should be a little shorter than the second one and the first one. Yeah. So,
do you know how the whole thing ends?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a lot of. I'm very much a planner. I have a lot of those things planned out. It doesn't always go the same way. People sometimes just die, and then I go, oh crap. So it's planned, but it's kind of loosely planned. So it's like it's planned enough that I know the overarching big things matter, right? That fit and that it's going to work. And the individualism aspect of it, that can change. But yeah, definitely have the ending planned. And things like that. So far, I'm really happy with the reviews that I've been getting. I've got really great blurbs. I've got one from Dirk Ashton, who I love this Paternus series, which is great. Yep. I've got one from Sarah Chorn, who's a beautiful author and a very well-known editor. She's very, very into it. And then right now, my shining one is what I have on the cover, right? And that Christian Cameron, also known as Miles Cameron in the fantasy community, agreed to read my book. He read it at like a cottage over like 2 or 3 days. Completely enjoyed it and wrote, wonderful blurb for me here on the front, which says this is the other one. Says a great read. Purge of Ashes is a feast for fans of Stevenson and Martin, and I can't ask for anything more than that, and never will. So I was going, do I call him Christian Cameron, which is his name, and he's published like 32 historical fiction novels or something. I'm off on the number, but about that many historical fiction novels as a published author. As a TradPub author, but then he chose Miles Cameron as a fantasy pseudonym, and I didn't know what to do. And eventually, I looked through my own bookshelf, and I found his blurb on the front of the Anna Smith Spark series, the Tower of Living and Dying, and her Grimdark series, and it was right there in the front. And so it chose Miles Cameron. So I said, I'm going to also do that because, obviously at this point, my book is exceptionally smaller than that whole trilogy, which is incredible. So I'm feeling pretty chuffed about that. He's a wonderful guy.
All right.
Yep.
Well, good luck to you with that, Joel. We're going to take the last couple minutes of this and remind some folks about a project Mike and I are working on, Rings of Adventure. The Kickstarter goes live just in a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks, actually, September 1st. And we got 34 indie authors all lined up with that. And 2 or 3 of them will be on Booked with Saffron Asteria here at 8 o'clock. I put a link to that in the chat. So in 4.5 minutes, you can leave us and go over to Booked and see what's going on over there. Mike and I are taking a few weeks off because we never did hit 600 followers, and we're really, really sad about that. And we're like, screw you guys, I'm going home. We're going to do something else we're just going to try to get some writing done. But we will be back. Have no fear. We will be back. But probably when, Mike? October?
Maybe we're going to talk about it. Maybe changing the format a little bit.
All right. So look forward to that.
To actually have a format.
Right. We might actually have to do some reading. Who knows? But
well, let's not be crazy. But
Joel,
Ro, one more thing I do have to do.
Yep.
Because you would be very upset with me if I did not. And that is, I have to show the cover of my upcoming book that is coming out. But
oh my God, it's 56 minutes.
I know. I never even held this book up for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Which is, tradition now. But I do have a new book.
We have to take this break so we can figure out what the hell we're doing now.
But I do have a new book coming out. Book is very generous. It's 5,000 words, so I'm putting lipstick on this thing and getting lots of custom art done and inside the pages. The font is size 14, so even I can read it.
It's 14. It's a headline, man.
And with all that, I got it to be 60 pages. But
all right,
it will be out. Don't know when. Probably end of September.
All right. And with that, go check out joelminty.com and Purge of Ashes next week on the 25th. Joel, thank you for joining us from Canada.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
We will see you all later, Mike. Let's all do the Queen Wave or the King Wave, I guess, now.
I've never had